Hello everyone, this is Mary and welcome to my channel. Sometimes on the IELTS speaking exam, you might get a strange topic that you don't have much clue about. So what do you do in this case? Well, take a look at this part 2 question. Describe a person who likes to grow plants. You should say who this person is, how you knew this person, what types of plants they grow, explain why growing plants is important for this person. Now, before I go on, I just wanted to let you know that I have put together a PDF on tips for doing well on the IELTS speaking exam. It's totally free, so just hit the link below to get a copy. Also, please help me out by hitting the subscribe, like, and share buttons. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
If you simply follow the bullet points, you might say something like this. I know a lady who likes to grow plants. She lives in my neighborhood just down the street from my house. I see her every day. She likes to grow all kinds of flowers in her garden. She likes planting flowers because they're beautiful to look at, and it keeps her busy. Now, if you simply speak according to the bullet points, you will run into the following problems. Your answer is too short. You're speaking sentence by sentence, so your speech is not flowing. And you don't know what else to say besides the bullet points. In order to make your speech longer, you can build a story by using extensions. Okay, so let's take a look at the first question. Who is this person? I know an old lady who lives just down the street from my house. Although she's in her 70s, she gets up at 7 o'clock sharp every morning to do her gardening. She's a tiny woman, but oh boy is she strong. She can lift 2 big buckets of water all by herself. So let's pause here for a second and take a look at my answer. I've actually included the following techniques into my speech. Number 1, I used abstract examples. The words old and strong. They were both used to describe the lady. They were abstract examples because they describe my thoughts about this lady. Next, number 2, I used concrete examples. So the concrete examples are descriptions from using your 5 senses: sight, touch, smell, taste, and hear. So the phrase, she's in her 70s, is a concrete example. And here are more. Okay, tiny woman. Okay, 2 big buckets of water. So these are all concrete examples. Okay. All right. Now let's go to point number 3. I have used the collocation. 7 o'clock sharp. Okay, that's a concrete example. That is a collocation, okay, which is it's a common English collocation to describe something that happens at exactly 7 o'clock. And another collocation is do gardening. That's a collocation too. Okay. Number 4, I've used contrast and doubt. So here, she's a tiny woman, but oh boy, she's strong. So she's tiny, but she's strong. So I just made a contrast there. Another one. Okay. Although she's in her 70s, she gets up at 7 o'clock sharp every morning. Okay, so although she's old, but she's able to get up very early in the morning. So that's a contrast. All right. So moving on, point number 5, okay, I have used complex sentence. The complex sentence here that I use is here. I know an old lady who lives just down the street. So I use the word who to join the 2 clauses together. Now that we're done with bullet point number 1, let's continue on with bullet point number 2. And the question is, how did you know this person? And this is my answer. I remember when I was a little kid, I would ride my bike around the neighborhood every morning. and I would see her working in her garden. She's a very kind person who always has a big smile on her face. And what's more, she's really nice to kids. She would give me cookies and candy all the time. I was shy at first because my mom told me to be careful of strangers and to not speak with them. But I could sense that she's a really nice person. So I let my guard down and became buddy-buddy with her. I loved hanging out with her because she gave out sweet treats. Okay, so now take a look. Let's pause for a second and look at my answer in more depth. I have used the following techniques. Number one, I used simple past tense whenever it's appropriate. So for example, I was a little kid. I would ride my bike around the neighborhood. I would see her working in the garden. Okay, she would give me cookies. I was shy at first. My mom told me. Okay, I could sense that she's a really nice person, and we became buddy-buddy. I loved hanging out with her. So all these are simple past tense at the appropriate places. Okay. All right. So what else did I do? Okay. So number two. Okay. I used the following technique, which is abstract examples. So the abstract examples that I use. Let me see. Okay. Very kind person. Okay, this is what I think about her. Okay, a very kind person. It's my feelings and thoughts about this lady. Okay, really nice. Okay. I could sense. Okay, so that's an abstract example too. Okay, and then point number three, I used concrete examples. Okay, so concrete examples, sweet treats. Okay, those are concrete examples. Okay, my bike, right? Ride my bike around the neighborhood, working in her garden. These are the things that she did. Okay, she gave me cookies and candy all the time. Okay, and here strangers. Those are concrete examples. Okay, or buddy buddy meaning friends. Those are all concrete examples. Okay, moving on. What else did I do? Okay, I also used collocations. So some of the collocations that I use, for example, is hanging out. Okay, so these are hang out is two words that in the English native speaking countries, hang out is like two words together, meaning you like to be together, you spend time together, hanging out. Okay, or another collocation is give out. Another collocation is be careful. Okay, be careful. That's a collocation. Okay, sweet treats, a collocation. Buddy buddy, meaning friends. That's a collocation too. Okay, good. Okay, so now let's move on. Okay, now point number 5. I used idioms as well. What are some of the idioms that I use? Okay, here, let my guard down. That means I'm no longer worried about this person. I let my guard down. Okay, so, and the word cause. Okay, that's a short form for because. It's not an idiom, but it's a common English slang. Okay, now, point number 5. I use linking words as well. Some of the linking words that I use, for example, because, okay, that's a linking word, and so, that's also a linking word, and here, what's more, that's a linking word. Okay, so these are the linking words that I use to make my speech more fluent. Okay? And lastly, I used complex sentences. Okay, so for example here, she's a very kind person who always has a big smile on her face. So I use the word who to connect the two clauses together. Okay, all right. Okay, we're done with bullet point number 2, and so let's move on to bullet point number 3. What types of plants, okay, does he or she grow? Okay. So let's face it, okay, not everyone's into gardening, so it's not realistic to come up with a bunch of plant names when you're rushed for time, but there's always a way around it. So let's take a look at my answer. So this is my answer. She grows all kinds of things like flowers, fruits, and even vegetables. Her garden is divided into two parts. The one which is on the left is for fruits and vegetables, and the one which is on the right is for flowers. She grows a lot of roses, tomatoes, green beans, and carrots, and I get to take home most of the vegetables since she can't finish them all by herself. Okay. So here, let's pause and take a look at my answer in more depth. I've used the following techniques. Number one, I used a lot of concrete examples. Okay, so what are they? Okay. So examples like flowers, fruits, vegetables, okay, or roses, tomatoes, green beans, and carrots. So these are simple plant names that most people know. Use linking words. I use the word since. Okay? Since she can't finish all of them by herself. Okay? And I also use the word like. Okay? She grows all kinds of things like flowers. Okay? See? She grows all kinds of things like flowers, fruits, and even vegetables. Okay? So that's a linking word. Okay? And like, okay, over here. Okay? So the one on the left is for fruits and vegetables, and the one which is on the right is for flowers. So that's a linking word too. Now, number three, I used complex sentences. So for example here, the one which is on the left is for fruits and vegetables, and the one which is on the right is for flowers. Okay, so these are linking words, connectors that connect two clauses together. Okay, now point number four. Number four, I used passive voice. Okay, passive voice right here. Okay. So that's a different type of sentence structure. So here, her garden is divided into two parts. Her garden is divided into two parts. That's a passive voice. And that's a different type of sentence structure. And if you can do this on your speaking exam, you will get more points. Okay? And so point number five, I use collocation. What are the collocations here? Let's see. I get to take home most of the plants. Get to. Okay? So I get to take home most of the vegetables. So that is a collocation. Okay, so we are done with point number three, and let's move on to bullet point number four. Okay, and this is to explain why growing plants is important for this person. Okay. So here's my answer. Not only is gardening her passion, but also she's a retired empty nester who has a lot of free time on her hands. So this is the perfect hobby to kill time. What's more, she's a health nut who's really into organic food, so growing her own vegetables keeps her away from eating things that come with pesticides. Okay, so now pause again to look at my answer in more depth, and I have used the following techniques. Number one, I use complex sentence. Okay, growing her own vegetables keeps her away from eating things that come with pesticides. Okay, that, right? Again, growing her own vegetables keeps her away from eating things that come with pesticides. So that is the connector that connected two clauses. Okay, right? And here, another one. Okay, here. She's a health nut who's really into organic food. So who is also a connector. Okay. So next, point number two. The second technique that I used is collocations. Okay, so for example, over here, okay, empty nester. Okay, an empty nester is somebody whose kids are no longer living with them, so they have the whole house to themselves. That's an empty nester. Okay, another one is to kill time, meaning you need to spend your time. You kill time. You need to do something with all the free time you have. That's kill time, and that's a collocation. Okay. Next one, free time, meaning you have a lot of spare time. Okay, and health nut. A health nut is somebody who's very health conscious. Okay? And here, keep away. Okay? Keep away, that's also a collocation. It means to stay away from something. Okay? All right, so moving on. Now, point number 3, I use linking words. Okay, so not only is gardening her passion, but also she's a retired empty nester. Another linking word, what's more. Okay, and so these are all linking words. Good. And then point number 4, I used abstract examples. So where are they? Her passion. Okay, free time. Okay, that's an abstract example. Perfect hobby. Okay, perfect hobby right here. Okay, and health nut. Okay? So these are just all abstract examples. These are the things, these are words that I use to describe what I thought about this old lady. Okay, good. All right, so moving on. Number 5, I use concrete examples. So for example, pesticides, okay, organic food, retired empty nester. Okay, so that's a person who stays home and the kids are away, right? That's a retired empty nester. So these are all concrete examples. Okay, so we're done with bullet point number 4. So let's move on to bullet point number 5. And the question is, what are your thoughts on planting? Okay, so here's my answer. I respect her for the effort that she puts into her work, but personally, if I had all that free time, I would go travel around the world. Besides, I'm someone who can't commit to something for a long time. I wouldn't do it unless I had more patience. Okay, let's pause again and let's take a look at my answer in greater depth. Okay, so these are the techniques that I used, okay, in my answer. Number 1, I use complex sentence. So over here, okay, I respect her for the effort that she puts into her work. Okay, so that's a complex sentence because I use that to connect the two clauses. Okay, over here, okay, I am someone who can't commit to something for a long time. So who connects I am someone and also can't commit to something for a long time. Okay, so these are two complex sentences that I used. Point number 2, I used second condition. Okay? So for example, over here, okay, if I had all that free time, I would go travel around the world. Okay, that's a second condition. Okay, right? And then here, the next one is point number 3. I use linking words. What are they? Well, here, but personally, okay, that's a linking word. And besides, that's a linking word too. Okay? And then number 4, what did I do? Okay, I gave my opinion. Okay, so look at this one. Okay, here, my opinion. I wouldn't do it unless I had more patience. That's my opinion. You can put that into your speech too. Okay, and next one, also here. If I had all that free time, I would go travel around the world. This is my attitude, right? Like if I had that free time, I wouldn't stay home and do planting. I would travel around the world. That's my attitude towards this issue. Okay, so you can put that into your speech too. All right.
Okay, so that's all for today's IELTS lesson, and I hope you have found that to be helpful. And again, I have put together some useful tips on how to ace your IELTS speaking exam. It's totally free. Just click on the link below to get yours. Now, if you want to find out more IELTS techniques, please check out my other videos. Till next time, bye!